Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Farthing, and I'm the manager of the Business Processing Division. This morning, I want to give you some basic information about filing for Illinois business income tax. We'll begin with an overview of the filing requirements for businesses, and then I'd like to go over some of the common mistakes we see from Illinois businesses when filing their returns. If you can avoid these mistakes, it will prevent delays in the processing of your return. Let's begin with the filing requirements for each type of business income tax return. As you can see on the chart here, each return type has an original return due date and an automatic extended due date. See the form instructions for the specific form you're filing about the due date of the return, as well as special cases like cooperatives or corporations filing on a fiscal year end ending in June. For all business return types, full payment is due at the time that the original return is due. This is even true if the return itself is not filed until the extended due date. Additionally, estimated payments are required for income tax liabilities of $400 or more on an IL 1120. These quarterly payments are due on the 15th days of the 4th, 6th, 9th, and 12th months of the tax year. For those who elect to pay pass-through entity tax on an IL 1120 ST or an IL 1065 return, estimated payments are due for a tax liability of $500 or more, as opposed to the $400 on the IL 1120. So let's take a moment to discuss a few updates on our business income tax forms for tax year 2024. The good news this year is that there are relatively few changes to the business income tax forms this year. Here are a few of those changes. For tax years ending on or after 12/31/24 and beginning before 12/31/27, the net loss deduction limitation has been increased from $100,000 to $500,000. This change is reflected on the Schedule NLD and Schedule UB NLD. Details to assist you with reporting net loss deductions can be found in those schedule instructions. The Form IL 4562 special depreciation has been modified to include calculations for property placed in service after December 31st, 2024, and before January 1st, 2026. That is subject to 40% federal bonus depreciation. Several other schedules, such as the K1P or the 1299D, have been reformatted to accommodate new income tax credits for this year. Credits such as the Reimagining Energy and Vehicles, or otherwise known as the REV credit, or the Quantum Computing Campuses tax credit. Another new credit I'd like to highlight for you is the Illinois Gives tax credit. While technically not available to claim as an income tax credit on tax year 2024 forms, the taxpayer may want to make plans for earning this credit throughout 2025. Here are a few highlights. Public Act 103-0592 created the Illinois Gives Tax Credit Act. The Illinois Gives Tax Credit Act allows income tax credits for taxpayers who make authorized contributions to permanent endowment funds, which are held by qualified community foundations. It sounds very technical, but it's really quite simple for what it means for Illinois businesses. In a nutshell, an Illinois business that makes a qualifying contribution during the calendar year 2025 will be eligible to receive a tax credit for that contribution, and that credit may be claimed beginning on tax years ending 12/31/25 or later. Your contribution that you make this year can earn you a tax credit for next year. More information can be found at our website at tax.illinois.gov. If you enter Illinois Gives in the search bar, you'll be directed to the best resources for the program. One of the best resources to look for is our IDOR Informational Bulletin FY 2025-14. To close out my time with you today, I'd like to share some common mistakes which are made by business income tax filers. If you avoid these mistakes, you'll also avoid the delays that come along with the processing of your return due to these mistakes. First, we often see returns filed on the incorrect form for the filing period that you're filing for. This is especially true for fiscal year-end tax filers. For a fiscal year ending, you want to be sure to use the form which has the previous year printed at the top of the form. And don't make changes to the form itself to make it appear correct. Forms which are not prescribed by the department will be considered invalid. Using the incorrect form will definitely cause you processing delays. Here are some other common errors which are related to our additions and subtractions modification section of the return. If there's an addition on a K1P or a K1T that you have received, that must be reported on the face of the return. Also, when you're reporting a modification from a K1P or a K1T, you want to be sure it is reported on the correct corresponding schedule or the correct return line. Please note that Schedule M, line 39, our other subtractions line, is generally not where subtractions are reported. There's usually another line on the return which is appropriate for the subtraction you're trying to claim. If there ever is a reason that we would allow a subtraction on Schedule M, line 39, it would be listed in the most current version of the Publication 101. We update that publication regularly, so check the Publication 101 before you submit your return to make sure that you're claiming that subtraction on the correct line. Also, if you're reporting a Schedule J foreign dividend subtraction, we do require a federal Schedule C or equivalent attached to your return for support. If you send this in with your Illinois return, we'll be able to process it much more easily. The next section of our return is the apportionment section, and there are many mistakes which are commonly made in the apportionment section. The first advice I would give is when you report income or loss outside of Illinois, it is extremely important that you complete all three apportionment lines: the total sales, the total Illinois sales, and the apportionment factor. Also, negative sales or negative sales factors are not allowed. That includes the Schedule UB and the subgroup schedule. Any special apportionment methods that you are using must be approved by the department before you file your return. So when you file, be sure that you verify that the Schedule UB and the subgroup schedule are in agreement with the rest of the return. Now, when it comes to Schedules K1P and K1T, note that we only accept schedules which have been issued to the taxpayer. That means estimated schedules are not considered valid. Any amounts from an estimated schedule will be disallowed. When you issue a Schedule K1P or K1T to your partners or shareholders, be sure that the amounts shown correspond to the amounts reported on your Schedule B for your partners and shareholders, or on your Schedule D for your beneficiaries. Be sure to include the full federal ID number of the recipient, partner, or shareholder in Step 2 of the K1P or K1T that you're issuing. Incomplete schedules will cause delays as we process your return. Another part of the return which causes problems for taxpayers is the payment section. The payment line of the return is only intended to report payments that you have made prior to the filing of the return. We do not want you to include amounts that you are paying when you file the return. Now, when you make a payment, we do ask that you allow 15 days for your payment to process and post to your account. We will honor the date that the payment is received by the department, regardless of when it shows as posted. In order to help us to post your payment correctly, we do ask that you include the federal ID number and the filing period on both the check and on the payment voucher. This helps to make sure that we're matching up the payment you made with the correct account. When it comes to amended returns, we also want you to make sure you're using the correct form. Just like an original return should be on the correct year's form, the amended return does as well. File using an amended form, which is identified with an X in the form name. For example, the form 1120X or IL 1120X. Then when you're making federal changes, a finalization date is required before we can process that amended change. If you're able, include that federal finalization with the filing of the amended return. Now, if you happen to make any of the mistakes that I've mentioned, or even other errors, you might receive a notice from the department asking for additional information or corrections. You can respond to that notice electronically through your MyTax Illinois account. To respond to a notice that you've received, simply log into your MyTax Illinois account. If you don't have a MyTax Illinois account, it's very simple to go and register. Just go out to mytax.illinois.com and you can register there. After logging on to your account, you'll click on the View More Account Options link under the tax type that the notice is related to. Finally, you'll select the Respond to a Notice hyperlink, and from there, we'll walk you through so that you can attach all of the information you need to provide to us to respond to that notice that you received. A few final quick tips. When you do receive a notice issued by the department, the sooner that you can respond to that, the sooner we can resolve your problem. When responding, we ask that you include a copy of the notice that you received so that we can match up your response with the issue. Remember, we are here to serve you and to help you resolve the problems with your account.